Well, hi, I'm back again. Uh, it's a couple of days later. I printed this out and I looked at it a bit, and there are things about it I like, and things about it I don't like, which I need to be in the right program here. All right, so what I like, one of the things I like, these little things here. What the hell? They're little striped pills or something. They're just, what the hell made that? I have no idea. But I like it, that, and I like these just little spots of color here and there. But what I don't like is this is too plain. Nothing happening over there. This is too plain. And I pointed this, and this down here too. It's like, it's pretty, but we want flash and excitement. That's what I want. So we still have our files over here, and so I think the problems are the veiny ones. But you know, there is a sort of a logical approach to this. Is I have this content-aware patch tool, so I draw a circle, selection around the area that I'm mostly interested in changing. All right, there it is. Now, as I turn off layers, I'll just isolate each one. I'll look for, well, really, I don't think it's, I'm pretty sure it's not those. What I look for is, that one's not the problem because it has stuff there. I look for an area in this selection that is kind of plain looking. Oh, that's got stuff going on. Well, sometimes this method just doesn't work. And yet, because what happens is, okay, the way the layers combine and everything, you get shapes that don't exist on any one layer by itself. It's the combination of them that gives you that particular shape, right? So sometimes a guy like me is reduced to Command T on that layer just to see and get things down and just tug on it and see what happens. Okay. Shift key down gets one control point at a time. Okay, I move that, and there's a little bit of there's a little bit of detail in the background. You look over here, it's moving. But it's not making a major change here. It's not, doesn't look like anything's happening much at all. So, that's not the source of my distress, maybe. What the hell is it? Well, we'll see. This is a journey of exploration, right? So this one selected, Command T, this other wrinkly hand here, and nothing happens. fucked up, but but it doesn't move any of the interesting things. There might be an easier way. Well, let's see. I don't know. Is it worth trying another thing? Showing another one of my amazing techniques. I'll just do it for fun. Well, nothing is happening. And it's because everything is just all together. So, what we'll do is flatten the sucker. There's other things about this picture I don't like either. So the colors is one. We got to do something about the colors, but to let you know, there's a warning here. You gotta learn to keep track of shit, because if you're compulsive like I am, you end up with a lot of pictures all over the place, filling up your storage. So you gotta keep track. You gotta have an organizational plan, so you can keep track of where things are. Okay, so we collapse that. There's just everything's all mushed together, and so now I know for sure that we're gonna get something to move here when I turn on my amazing warp tool. And I'm going to get out of the default, which is just like 3x3 grid, and go to the 5x5, because that gives you a little finer control over what's happening. So, up here, this area that I was distressed about. Just move that. You know, it's if you get too close to a point, it'll think you want to pivot or swivel or something. So, but the advantage of this usually is that you can get more detail without losing anything that you already have. That makes sense? So I'm trying to just kind of squish that rather plain looking area down. So that it's not so obtrusive. And in the process, see, I just stretched the shit out of this. Well, I don't know. That looks good. I like that. But let's see what happens when I'm all through here. So, okay, here's this other kind of nondescript area over here. Shrink that sucker up. Command Z is your friend. Yeah. Just squish it down. That's what I want. The thing is too, see, if you pull too hard at the edges, you're gonna get it's okay, what the hell. So it's got a swivel. That'll work. See, it's just so much fun. See, it's actually turning into a way different picture because things that were details are now getting to be major features. Squishy. Another thing you have to watch is you don't want to squish too much from the same place. That sounds very professional, doesn't it? Don't squish some shit here, you know. But you try to get I don't want the squishing to look obvious either, right? Should be subtle. Like this picture is so subtle, right? I'm looking at the wrong monitor again. I'm sorry. I have this big monitor here, and it's so fun to work on. It's just a ultra high def TV, right? 43 inch of a big fucking screen, and the colors are wonderful. And I also have this Apple monitor here, which has a camera on it, but it's, you know, the screen's not so big, so it's not so much fun to play with. So we turned this into, I think, a more interesting detail picture. Let's make it big. Shit. So I've squished some areas that I thought were kind of not contributing a whole lot. But now we're going to play with colors, right? So I've already done levels on this more than once, I think. So just changing the RGB values is not going to make a huge difference, I don't think. But this adjustment layer here, the hue and saturation, can change things in a radical way, and sometimes beautiful. So, okay, on this control panel here, there's like, you got 3 sliders: hue, saturation, lightness. Usually, by the time I get to this point, I don't mess with the others so much. Saturation and lightness. I just change this. You see, we're in the master tab. You can go down and do reds, yellows, cyans, blues, magentas, if you want to fine tune it. But I want to get a sort of an overall change in the palette, as the real artists say, so that because I'm lazy. I mean, you know, if you want, like, say, okay, just so I'm not crazy about it either, but at this point, say if you don't, I don't like that green. Well, you could go into the green control and fuss with it, and you know, there's all sorts of ways. There's channel channel mixer, that's what it is, and color balance, and there's so many ways to play with the color in fine areas. It's you can spend the rest of your life on one picture if you want to. But for me, the fun is, okay, the fun is making a lot of different things, you know. I mean, this one I hope will turn out to be beautiful, and then I'll make something else. Now see, that's way different. I got a whole different set of colors here, and I like them. It's a hell of a lot more dramatic.
It's 2:30.
Oh, thank you. I should turn that off, right? It's a lot more dramatic than it was. Now that's going from the middle, which is what our original, where it starts out as our original picture, toward the orange red end, and you can go the other way through the blue to the blue, red, magenta kind of end, and they're almost the same. There's a little different. You know, if you look, this is on the full magenta end. This is on the full orange, and so it has more orange in it. But I can't wait to get to the next thing, because levels is going to change it a lot. because we can, you know, now we got some new RGB values to play with. Bump up the red a little. It's fucking bizarre. Green. Oh. Well, you know, I like that, but it's, you can't be, it seems like everything ends up being green. Because I like it. But, now I'm going to show you in a minute just how different. Okay, that's green, blue, right? So what are we going to do? It looks like the blue is like pretty saturated in places. And back it off. Gee. Now, that's way different, don't you think? Well, let's see how different it is. If we turn off the hue saturation, we only got the levels going there. We turn off the levels, and then we're back to the original painting, picture, whatever. So that's turning just the levels back on, and that's turning the hue saturation on, which just turns it into something totally different. Well, you know, the main contours are the same. You still have this, like, this river over here, you know, with the little blue things swimming in it. And, yeah, so you've got the same configuration of things, but when you alter the colors and the way they relate to each other in that way, it gets very different. You know what? It's still bugging me after all this time. Is this? Oh man! Sometimes. Okay, burnt. That's what it was on, right? Okay, what's bothering me here is this. There's some light. Oh, I haven't done anything about that texture. Oh, that'll be fun. Okay, the right bracket makes your cursor bigger. It's kind of light there, but I'm going to make a little pass here with the dodge tool. And it's set up. It usually defaults to like highlights, but I must have been playing with it on the midtones because that's what I want to darken is these highlights, and you can do it selectively with this burn tool without affecting your whole picture, and you can make the brush larger. You can make the brush larger. Max Headroom, that's the guy I was trying to think of the other day. Max Headroom had a brief life on TV. He was before his time. So I'm just going over and I'm looking at areas that I think they would, that's too, see, this is way too light. You know, why? Why is it too light? I don't know. It's, or what it is, this is my explanation, right? I don't really know. But what I think it is it draws my attention to something that's not that interesting, right? It's kind of interesting, but I don't want it grabbing at me like it does. That makes sense? Jeez. So, you probably wouldn't notice that much difference. It's just a little fetish of mine, right? So, ow. what I like about this one is it's not pretty. It's fucking weird, right? It's oh, that reminds me, I want to fix something there. So I did Command Option 0 gets it to full size, and I take it back down. Well, I don't know what to take it down that far. See, it has a texture. It's a combination of all those photographs, and so it's kind of okay. It's all right. It's not a bad thing. But I it's it has a certain atmosphere or something. I don't know. Sometimes I like it, and sometimes I don't. Fuck. There's a thing about applying filters. You have to have the layer select that you want to apply them to. So I'm going to noise, dust and scratches. Okay, and now we're on the right layer, and we're actually changing things. You see, that's I'm gonna okay that, and then I don't know if you'll be able to see the well, I see it right away. There's you know, the edges edges of things of where two colors come together seem a little more distinct if you do that. But so Command O, let's see what the overall thing. You know, it's not harmed in any way. But and I'm going to do something now. A wonderful thing. See, the thing is, you apply this layer, this filter, to a layer. You can do it to a whole picture if you collapse it, but it only applies to one layer at a time. So this is what the original layer looks like, and you can't see the hue and saturation and the levels adjustments that are on top of it. You only get to work with the original one, but you know, you can flatten it, and then you can work on it as it is. I'm working as it is. Basic tab. This thing, they have kept improving and making it more and more complicated. So there's a million fucking things you can do right here in this filter. But what I mainly do is when I apply that dust and scratches, it softens everything a little bit. So I come in here and I pump up the clarity a little bit, which also darkens the blacks a little bit, so I turn them up. And I can come back later and maybe turn the shadows up some. Well, maybe I'll try it now. So that I like contrast, you know, and the difference between the dark and the light. But I also love having these gradations, these gradients between colors. And so if you bring up the shadows a little bit, sometimes that gives you more of a transition between colors. Okay, let's see what the finished product is instead of I'm just talking about it forever. Okay, so you probably can't. Well, let's do Command C. See, it looks a little bit darker, a little bit duller, and then Command Shift C goes back to having the camera raw filter applied. So so I'll print this one out and look at it for a day or two and see how it looks. And I don't know. Right now, it looks. Let's zoom in and see what we've got here in the details department. So I go to I've got the marquee tool set for a 4x5. Oops, so we're way bigger than that. A 4x5, which how it got to be that way is the biggest I've made these pictures. The big picture is 32x40. But I work on the file that's size 16x20, so the guys at the print shop, they expanded. They're real good at it. And so I'm working on a 16x20 file, but it should scale up to 3240. And so a 4x5 area of this file should scale up to a 16x20. Should scale up to a 16x20, and that's the size this area would be if you made the whole picture 32x40. Does that make, it's mathematics. I mean, there's a kind of logic to it. But anyway, so after I get done here with this, I call this the original picture, right? Then I go through it and I look and I see if there are any areas that look like they could stand alone as a composition in their own 16x20 iteration. So, I've just seen a couple that I think are nice, and there are probably more. I end up usually with like 7 or 8 call them compositions, and then I just go through and I eliminate them down to 2. It's just too many files, and they're too big. I mean, it ends up being and besides that, I'm not really throwing anything away because they're all in the original. Wow. If you look at this area up close, it sort of looks like tongues of thick blue paint coming out of the canvas and streaming down. And now they've got little white shit on them. So you see, it's very easy to get. For me, anyway, that's why I love. Another reason I love doing this is that the end product is something that I never would have thought to do, and so I can look at it like somebody else did it, as if, or if it just grew, which in a way is what it did. So I like to have a lot of things to look at as I zoom in and move around here. I'm looking at all these shapes. The hairs on my arm. They've turned into these streamers that are in some cases multicolored. They're bright in some places, and this is my skin transformed. So so another thing, I like this little river. I call it a river. It's like there's a stream flowing through this wild-ass fantasy countryside, and there are these blue blobs floating along in the stream. So that's a friend of mine said one time, she said, I know you don't see your pictures. I know I don't see your pictures the same way you do. And I thought, well, yeah, I'm sure you don't. But I thought maybe now that I'm here showing how I made them, I can show you what I see when I look at them. Like, I love this blue and orange thing over here. It's just a thing all by itself that's beautiful. So I don't know. Maybe you have to be a little crazy and high to think that's beautiful. But even even these things down here, where it's not so dramatic, it's just this lighter, filmy kind of stuff going on. Oh, I love this light pink and this light blue sort of overlapping and making shapes together. Oh, wow. Anyway, so whether or not you got anything out of that, I don't know, but I enjoyed making it, and you have fun.